So, we are back. We missed last week, but we're here again for week 6 predictions. Last week was tight. We started the week tied at 32 and 32 apiece, and I ended up taking the dub. My Seahawks crushed my heart, but at least I won something. We'll take all the victories we can get after that fucking stupid game. But yeah, we're back at it. And speaking of my Seahawks, up first,
right at the top.
Thursday night game.
Right at the top.
Right at the top. I'll leave it up to you, Simon. Do you want me to take this one first, or do you want to go first with the picks this week?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't even have the game pulled up on my phone quite yet. So if you want to take it, go nuts.
Well, this is the easiest prediction I'm gonna make
true.
Year. Listen. I can have the big rant about how poorly the Seahawks played. I was there. In Seattle last weekend. I witnessed how bad it was firsthand. Against the fucking Giants of all teams, a team that we should beat 100 times out of 100. And let me tell you, we should have lost by way more than we did. The fact that it was even close was a miracle. But I don't know. I have faith in this team. Both sides of the ball have shown that they can play well. The defense played well at the start. The offense played well in the Lions game. This team just needs to gel together. And what better way to gel together than against the fucking Niners? The Niners, who, for all their championship ambitions, look awful to start the season. Losing record. Go out and get killed by Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Can't beat the Rams despite having all of their players injured. Are you telling me this Niners team is going to come into Seattle and beat my team on Thursday night in probably one of the most important games of the year for both teams already? No, you're dead wrong. Seahawks by 50. Give it to me.
So what would that make it? Like 70-20, 60-10? Like, what are we talking?
100. Let's go. No, Seahawks by 90. 110.
There you go. So you're saying that you do not believe the Seahawks can shut out the 49ers? Is that what you're saying? Seahawks defense sucks over
We
there.
give them 10. We give them 10 pity points. We give them 10 pity points at the end when like the third stringers are in.
So like 3 field goals and like a safety.
And a 1 point point safety. Yep.
There you go. Okay. I don't know on this one because it seems very even to me after the Seahawks lost to the Giants. I feel like they've kind of fallen down in my opinion of them, but the 49ers are the 49ers. They're always going to be good. I don't know. I think you're right. This is a massive game for both teams here. I think for the 49ers, it's a pretty good chance for them to turn around their season as a whole. And it is a bounce-back game for the Seahawks. They need a win here, or they fall to 3-3, which is pretty brutal. You started the season 3-0. Like, that's rough as hell, right? So I think, I don't know. I feel I'm going to side with you on this one. I think the Seahawks are going to want it more.
Yeah.
At this point, the 49ers already 2-3. It's not like you're fighting to fall. Yeah, you're not desperate yet, is kind of what I mean. When you start the season undefeated and lose 2 straight, you're desperate because a Seahawks 3-3 is going to look a lot worse than a 49ers 3-3, in my opinion, if the 49ers win this game. So I think the Seahawks are going to come out strong. I think it'll be a close game. I think most games with the 49ers and Seahawks are pretty close. Like, I don't know.
In recent years, not as much as I hate to admit it. We've kind of got our ass handed to us. But I will say to not be just as blind Seahawks fanatic as I possibly can be. A real reason to believe in this team against the Niners is our coach, is Mike Macdonald, because Mike Macdonald has come out against the Niners and specifically against Shanahan type offenses and just like put them in the wood chipper. Like think about the game on Christmas Day, Ravens, Niners, where the Niners offense just looked the worst it had all year. That's Mike Macdonald's doing. It's taking a little while to gel in Seattle. Like there's been flashes, like the Broncos game was great. The Patriots game was great. Dolphins game obviously was great. The last couple of weeks it's been a lot rougher. I'm thinking, at least I'm hoping, that this will be when it kind of rounds into form. You saw something similar in Baltimore where it took a few weeks to get going. If there's any week to do it, it's going to be this week. Because if not, yeah, you're right. This is a really rough slide for Seattle. It doesn't get any easier. They've got Buffalo and Atlanta up next.
Oh, that is rough. Okay, well we can move on so we don't end up talking about one team for 10 minutes like we usually do. But Jacksonville.
I could talk about the Seahawks for 10 minutes if you really want me to.
Caleb, I have no doubt. I have no doubt that you can do that. Trust me. There is absolutely no doubt in my system that you could do that. But if we do that, then if our goal is to get through this in like a 45-minute segment, it becomes a lot more interesting for the whole second half.
It's okay. I'll talk about the Seahawks for an hour, and then I'll do the rest of the picks in a minute. That's how.
Talk about the Seahawks for an hour, and then talk about the rest of the picks in the last minus 15 minutes. Use the time machine.
That's what the people want. That's what the people want is the Seahawks content. And if they don't, I don't know what you're doing here.
You know what the people want? Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears. What a damn game.
Everybody loves this game. Everybody loves waking up at 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. to watch Jags Bears.
Oh my god!
I know I will, definitely.
Yeah, you're gonna tune in for that one.
I'm a fucking psychopath.
I actually fully believe you're gonna do that. That sounds pretty uncharacteristic.
I absolutely am. It's fun getting up at you get up before the sun rises and you already have football. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, you know what's funny? I will say this isn't that relevant, but I have experienced that with my sister getting into F1. I don't know if you know what the times are for the races with that. It's like 6 a.m. I've tried to watch one with her. It's so funny because she'll be like all excited for it, and I'll just be in the corner dying with a coffee bigger than my fucking head. But it's great. F1's a great sport. Shout out to all the F1 fans who watch this podcast, which is probably 0, but still, shout out to you.
Yeah, I don't think
it takes some wild wake up habits to be able to watch that sport. If you're in North America, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever be able to get into it, but it won't be because of the. I think it's just not for me. It won't be because of the time. I can stomach a 6 a.m. wake up. It's like once I'm up, then I'm chilling, and I've got I've got my coffee.
That is how I am too. That is absolutely how I am too. But I will say I actually enjoy watching F1. I think it's really interesting. And I'm not a car person at all. I just like seeing people go vroom and crashes. Crashes are so funny. With the exception of if someone dies, not funny. But when no one dies, no one's hurt, and you just see two $15 million cars just bash tires, and then both tires fall off, and both racers just it's just two British really rich British people yelling at each other. It's really fucking funny. But otherwise,
good thing you added that caveat in there. Or else you might have gotten in trouble for that. Too.
Yeah, no. When someone dies, absolutely not. That's not funny. But when no one's hurt and it's just two angry British people. That's pretty great. I could get behind that as a sport. But
breaking news. Anyway. Simon does not like it when people die.
Yeah, funny thing.
Good to know. Good to know. Breaking news.
Make sure you clip that one. As a general preference, dead people no good. But
idea for people out there with too much spare time. If you have the time, deceptively edit it to make it sound like Simon enjoys when.
I only love F1 when people die. Yeah, there you go. I made it easy.
Yeah, exactly. Or just you're giving it to him for free. Just clip that, post it everywhere on the internet.
There you go. Well, Caleb, you didn't need to talk about the Seahawks for 10 minutes because we're 9:30 deep and we've still only done one team. Anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars.
See, there we go. There we go. I get there one way or eventually. I get there one way or another. Yeah. Anyways, we'll talk about this London game. Jacksonville, Chicago.
Why are the Bears 3-2? Is that right? What the fuck?
Yes.
That does not feel right. Holy crap, they are.
Yes, the Bears beat the Rams a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
They beat the Panthers. I don't remember. Oh, and they beat the Titans the first week. They've been playing pretty good. I do think they've kind of gotten a benefit of an easy schedule here. Like I think the Rams is probably the most impressive out of those wins, but Caleb Williams is playing better each week. The offense is slowly improving. It's a hell of a time to do it against Carolina. It's probably going to be the easiest matchup you have all year. Jacksonville, I think, even though Jacksonville is really struggling, they showed a little bit of life against the Colts, which, despite their flaws, I think are still a good team. Jacksonville was able to get their first win. So it's a really interesting one. Definitely a lot more on the line for Jacksonville. If you go to 1-5 at this point, like the alarm bells were already ringing, and if they weren't before, then they definitely will at that point. But I do think the one thing that's going to give them the edge, and otherwise talent-wise at least, what I think is a pretty even matchup. I think what's going to give Jacksonville the edge and eventually give them this game is just the London factor of it all. Jacksonville goes to London every single year. They're used to it. Trevor Lawrence is used to it. The coaching staff, Doug Peterson's used to it.
Is there a reason behind that? Do they just volunteer? Like, what's the... Do you know?
There was rumors that they were going to move to London, and I know that might have been part of it at some point.
I remember that.
That's obviously not... Yeah. That's obviously not the case anymore because they've got a stadium planned in Jacksonville. So I don't really know why at this point. But either way, they're used to it. They go every year. Chicago, a lot of the players on that team, I don't know when the last time they went to London would have been. It's going to be a bit of a transition. You see kind of weird things happen when teams are kind of dealing with that jet lag crossover. It's a very real thing. I think Jacksonville takes this one that in the U.S. they might not win. But
that's hilarious.
Being used to how London works, I think it'll give them the win in this.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna say Bears. I absolutely was on the side of Bears. Like looking at the stats that I have pulled up all in front of me, I'm like Bears. Like right off the jump, they look better. I get the Jags. They bounced back last week, but they have really sucked this year. Chicago's been getting better every week. Chicago, and then you brought up the British factor. The fact that things might get rough for them over there in London. And I'm totally with you. I love that storyline. The Jags don't fuck around in Britain. So therefore...
It's true.
They don't fuck around.
The Jags... Do you want to know what they did last year in London? Oh, I don't know. They just went out and beat the Bills.
Hell yeah, that's sick.
Crazy things happen in London. There's a reason... There's a reason people it affects things. Like it's gonna affect anybody. It's just the human side of it.
Yeah. For sure, absolutely. I don't know when they go over there during the week.
Probably early, but still,
you gotta think, right?
It's still a big transition.
Yeah. Anyway, we can move on. Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans, division matchup. Should be an interesting
game.
Ugly game. 1-3 for the Titans, 2-3 for the Colts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, a little bit of a shitball.
I don't know.
A little bit.
I don't know what the status of Will Levis is, and because he exited with a shoulder injury, and in their game against the Dolphins. And I don't know if that. I think that honestly, like.
Yeah, does that make them better if he's not playing? Is that?
That's kind of the thing. It looks like he's probably going to play. So with that, and I mean, you also have to look at the quarterback on the other side if he's coming back.
But again, funnily enough, if he's coming back, I'd argue the Colts would be worse.
Yeah, as of right now, potentially, but here's the big difference between Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, and I'm going to make the assumption that both of them are starting. The thing you have to think about is that Will Levis will make these garbage shit plays, and he's still okay when he's, like, got his shit together, but Anthony Richardson will make those same boneheaded plays, but then he will counteract them with the most godlike play you've ever seen in your existence. Throw a 95-yard bomb. Yeah, and overall the Colts roster is just better.
What I meant by that
haven't played.
'Is... was the absolute masterclass of a human being that is Joe Flacco.
'Cause
Was the absolute masterclass of a human being that is Joe Flacco. 'Cause, yeah, you gotta think, right?
You're not wrong. He's played fantastic. Honestly, either quarterback that's in for the Colts, I think they take the win. I think they have the better roster. But assuming Richardson's back, assuming Levis is back, the Colts get the edge at quarterback. I think the Colts take this one. I don't think it's going to be particularly close. The only reason Tennessee is in a winning state right now, the only reason Tennessee won a game is because they went against the Dolphins, who are injured to hell and back and kind of just dreadful. Against a Colts team that is worse than I thought, but still pretty good. No, they don't have a chance here.
Yeah. Oh, you don't think they have a chance, like, outright? No shot in the world. You think they win this game?
That's maybe maybe a bit harsh. That's maybe
I
a
was
bit
gonna
harsh,
say
but
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I'm pretty strong on the Colts to win this one.
Yeah, fair enough. I fully stand by what I said though. I'd be a lot stronger if it came out like this minute that Joe Flacco's starting that game. I'd probably give it to the Colts. But when has Will Levis ever let me down? The absolute legend that is
every
Will
single
Levis.
time you've picked him.
He has never let me down. He's an absolute legend. Have you seen his absolutely incredible plays? He didn't even see the defender there because he sees right through them, right through the defense. It plays like it's not even there. And you know what? That's what makes him a stellar quarterback. Because you can't see ghosts if you don't see shit. And that's what Will Levis has. He doesn't see jack shit when he's out there. He just fucking balls. And I respect the hell out of that. Tennessee Titans by 54.
Simon, you're going to lose by about 10 wins, and they're all going to be because you picked the Titans.
I don't know what you're
every single
about.
week.
I don't know what you're talking about. Will Levis.
In your world, the Titans are 4-0.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they should be. All of those losses came off of terrible coaching decisions by Brian Callahan, who just doesn't know how to use the brilliance that is Will Levis.
Okay, sure, buddy. Speaking of bad coaching decisions, how about Cleveland deciding to keep the worst quarterback ever in the starting lineup? And you may think that's hyperbole, but a lot of the stats have come out in terms of, like, I don't know what specific stat it is. That would be something I'd have to look up again. But it was comparing the performance of Browns quarterbacks, an infamously cursed position group.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson was still this season's Deshaun Watson, still at the very bottom, below guys like Johnny Manziel or Deshaun Kaiser. No, it's Deshaun Watson who's playing the worst out of all of them. You're seeing it, like there was the whole sideline interaction with him and Stefanski, where Stefanski's just lost his mind at him for as much as Stefanski can. Very mild-mannered guy, but you can tell that he's fed up with it. But you can't bench him because because of how much money you're paying him.
Yeah.
So as long as, honestly, it's gotten to the point where I have the thing with the Panthers, right, where I said until they win a game, I'm not going to pick them, or until they prove that they can win a game, I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to say a similar thing for the Browns. As long as Deshaun Watson is still starting in Cleveland, I will be picking against the Browns every single time. Doesn't help that it's against the Eagles, but honestly, you can put up any team against them, and I'm going the other way, picking the Eagles here.
Yep, and I mean, the funny thing is I've already been doing that because Deshaun Watson fucking sucks. So yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that one. Not any stats behind it, not any sports-related facts, but yeah, Deshaun Watson, terrible human being, shouldn't win another football game.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
And the way he's playing, it looks like he probably won't, so that's a good thing.
Put literally anybody. Is Jameis still the backup over there? Put Jameis in. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Jameis seems like a great
probably. Jameis would play a lot better.
Yeah, that's got to be a hilarious quarterback room. The difference between Jameis, who just seems like a funny leader, and then Deshaun Watson, who is a human being, one of the human beings ever. That might be the nicest thing I've ever said about him. That might be the nicest thing that anyone's ever said about Deshaun Watson. He does, in fact, have organs inside of his body and skin, therefore being human. By definition.
By a technicality.
By a technicality, he is a human being. So there you go.
Yep.
Anyway, Arizona Cardinals, Green Bay Packers. This one's a fun one.
This one is very interesting. Out of all of the games in this kind of early stretch here, this might be the one that I'm most interested in, quite honestly, is how this one plays out.
Yeah.
I think Green Bay, once they've gotten Jordan Love back, has been fine, but not anything spectacular.
Good enough. They've been good enough to pull out of the
Obviously, yeah, exactly. Obviously, they beat the Rams. They made it after a disastrous first half against the Vikings. They were able to make it close. But Jordan Love is kind of not necessarily playing to the level that we know he can play at. Kind of looking more like he did early last year, where it's just like, yeah, the talent is there, but it's some risks and some picks he shouldn't throw. The Cardinals, on the other hand, I mean, they get walloped by Washington, but after coming back against the Niners, I'm more willing to kind of take that as a bit of a one-off. They've looked fairly impressive in a lot of their outings. I mean, they kept it close against Buffalo. They completely thumped the Rams. Obviously, the aforementioned performance against the Niners. They've got quite a bit going for them. And it's going to be tricky because this is in Lambeau. This is in Green Bay. It's going to be a tough game for them. I think one of their biggest challenges of the season so far, just in terms of that environment. But they've shown some resilience. They've shown some fight. As much as I hate to give the props to a division rival, this might be my big upset pick of the week. I don't know what the line is, but I'm going Cardinals on this one.
I can figure out what that is for you in half a second here. But I'm going to go on the other side of it. I'm going to take Green Bay. I think you pretty much made my point for me. It's Arizona coming into Lambeau. I think this is a super even game, honestly. I don't think it should be that crazy of an upset at this point. Like, I feel like they've had kind of other than the injury to Jordan Love, they've had kind of similar starts to the year. I don't know. I definitely have Green Bay. I think I trust their defense more than I trust Arizona's. I think that defense has looked good pretty much all season. Arizona's letting up 25 points per game, which isn't pretty. So at least to me, yeah, I'll take Green Bay in this one. They're playing at home. Easy enough.
Yeah, Green Bay is favored by 5, which again makes sense. I think this might be a bit more of an upset pick. But in terms of teams that come in with momentum and just kind of have the intangibles, I'll take a chance on Arizona here. Another interesting one, where I'm very tempted to go with what is likely, I would assume, the upset pick in Washington. They've played so well, aside from an opening loss to the Bucs, who are a very good team. They've come out and they've proven themselves. Like I just talked about how good the Cardinals have been, how like surprisingly good they've been, and they went out and beat them by like 30. They beat the Bengals, who are like, you look at them playing. Even though the Bengals obviously 1-4 haven't had the season we've expected, they've still played well in all those games. They just their defense has let them down at points, and the kind of intangibles at the end of the game they haven't quite gotten. But this is a Commanders team led by Jaden Daniels that's just been fantastic. The Ravens, I think, is definitely their toughest game so far. And unlike the Cardinals, I'm not going to go with the hipster pick. I'm going to go Baltimore on this one. After their kind of slow start to the season, Baltimore has looked very good. Especially that performance on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago against the Bills, I think, kind of took away any doubts I had, where the Bills look like the hottest team in football, and then you just go out and completely wreck their shit. They had a little bit of an early season slump, but other than the Raiders game, which was pretty uncharacteristic, they've been in a lot of those games the couple games that they lost, like, they lost to the Chiefs by a point, and even in the Raiders game, their worst game of the season, they still only lost by a field goal. They've been playing some really good football. I don't think that'll end here.
Yeah, fair enough. Honestly, the thing is, I really wanted to take, I really wanted to take Washington too, and I was planning to up until I was kind of going through the stats here and kind of just digging through everything on them. And I went to the other side, and I'm just seeing how well Lamar is playing. I'm seeing just how well the Ravens have turned it around since the last time I've been able to tune into one of their games. I have a hard time taking Washington. I know part of it is just because of the fact that, like, before the season, I would have been like, it's fucking Washington. Of course they're going to lose to the Ravens, right? They've been very, very good this year, and I really want to take them as the upset here. I'm not going to. I'm going to go with you on this one. I'm going to take Baltimore. But I kind of hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see Washington start the year 5-1. Like, that team's just fun this year. I think they're kind of my back, whatever, my second team in a sense. Although Tennessee's also them, I guess. Tennessee for the memes.
I'm just gonna
Tennessee is my number one meme team, but other than that, Washington's fun. I think I can't really see a reason why many people would be cheering against them at this point. Most of the bad juju in that locker room, and not just the locker room, and that building is kind of gone at this point.
And the ownership, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the reasons to hate Washington are gone. Jaden Daniels seems like a fairly likable guy. And yeah, across the board, it's just kind of nice to see that team that has just been so garbage for so long at this point kind of get a little bit of luck. I wouldn't mind seeing them get an upset win here, because if they win this game,
yeah,
they're legit at that point. You made a good point.
Oh,
Ravens
yeah.
beat the Bills, and absolutely, I think this is that kind of game for Washington, where if Washington can show up and beat this Ravens team, people are going to start getting scared of this Washington team.
And I mean, especially you look at their upcoming schedule after this game. You win this game, you're seriously contending for that number one spot in the NFC with Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
At least in the next few weeks. Their next 4 games, I think, are very winnable. Panthers, Bears, Giants, Steelers.
Yeah.
I absolutely think you can pull that off.
That is pretty cake.
So who knows? Who knows where it'll go from here for Washington. Another interesting one, Tampa, New Orleans. I do think I didn't get a chance to watch the Monday night game against the Chiefs, but I think it's kind of emblematic of the fact that all of this hype around the Saints in the first couple weeks, their offense is back. Derek Carr is playing like it's 2016 again. Saints are going to the Super Bowl. Like all of that talk, like it's completely dead at this point. Where the Saints have kind of been, in my opinion, outed kind of as a week 2 overreaction fraud type deal. In their last few games, they score only 12 against the Eagles, 24 okay against the Falcons, and then, they get 13 against the Chiefs. All good teams, all good defenses, but that's still, like, if you're going to be a Super Bowl contender, like some people were jumping to that conclusion after 2 weeks, you got to do better than that, and that kind of 0-3 stretch has really tainted that hot start. I don't think it's going to get any better for them here. The Bucks ride or die on Baker Mayfield, and when he's hot, they're gonna have a chance to win. Like you look at, I think the Broncos and the Eagles games are pretty emblematic. If Baker's hot, you can crush some of the best teams in the NFC. If he's not, then you're going to end up losing to a team you should beat. He was great against the Falcons. The Bucks probably in 90 times out of 100 win that game. Kirk Cousins Thursday night magic proved him wrong. But I think at this point the Saints are not quite as tough of a team as the Falcons are. I see Tampa Bay taking this one. Baker has another good game in New Orleans.
Yeah. The worst part is I really want to make that pick too, but we haven't even gone on that similar in most of these. Never mind. I feel fine taking Tampa Bay then. I don't disagree with any of that. I think Baker's been really good so far this year. Saints are falling off hard. And this is a tough game to play, especially when they've kind of sucked the last few weeks. This if they want to regain that hype they had earlier on, they need to win a game like this. And I don't know. I mean, they're playing at home. There's like a few reasons I could think of as to why, like, maybe they pull it out, but. Yeah, I won't disagree with anything you said. I think Tampa Bay's the better team. If Baker's playing well, they'll win. The only way the Saints win this is if it's like a low-scoring garbage game where Derek Carr pulls out a miracle for him. But I don't know. I think, if Baker's hot, Tampa Bay's going to win this one fairly easy. If he's not, it'll be a little closer. But even then, like, who knows? I think Tampa Bay is probably they are just better. They're just a better team.
They are. They're from top to bottom. They definitely are, and I think that's kind of what we've been seeing in the last few weeks. You said who knows to this game. We're not going to be saying that in this next game.
Yeah,
I think we very much know what's going to happen here. I don't know if we can spend too much time on this. The most interesting thing about this game is it will be Drake May's first career start. Now, how much that moves the needle against a very good Texans team, I don't know, especially a Texans team that just came out and beat the Bills. Their only loss has come to undefeated Minnesota. The Texans' offense, I don't think, has quite been on the level that we expected it to be, but I do kind of think that gets better as time goes on. This might be a game, maybe it's closer than people think it'll be in the first little bit, and it's like, oh, maybe this will be close. Past that, I don't think so. This is a tough matchup for a rookie quarterback to go into in his first start. The Patriots were always going to kind of struggle through these first few games because, I mean, again, Bengals, Seahawks, Jets, Niners, the Dolphins, even though they were banged up, still lost that game. Texans, like, a rough stretch. Deciding now is the time to put Drake May in. I think it's maybe coming a game too early in terms of where they want to put him. Yeah, I don't think even if Drake May plays well, I don't think it'll be enough. I'm taking Houston in this one.
I don't get that decision at all. If I'm the general manager over there or the coach, over there for the Patriots, I feel like I don't care if we go 1-16 this year. Like, I'm sitting Drake May the entire season because there's no way they're gonna get better with him. There's no way. You might as well not expose him to the absolute fucking dumpster fire that is your team right now. Like, I feel like you just let him sit. It's an odd choice.
Well, I think it's just the offensive line is the worry, right? Where it's like you, especially against a team like Houston, you worry he's just going to get like killed back there.
Yeah,
basically.
6 sack
like,
first.
Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter coming off the edges. I don't like that at all.
Okay.
If I'm the Patriots to further to both further and go against you, like, I don't know if I would sit him the whole year. I just think like it's an interesting choice to do it for this Texans game.
If you want to give him like the last 2 games when you're playing like fucking Jacksonville, sure, like that's fine, right? But
no, that's the thing is because they're not playing Jacksonville in the last game. Is that they actually after this game they get past their hard stretch. They play Jacksonville next week, and then it's Jets, maybe Titans. Bears, a depleted Rams team, depleted Dolphins team, Colts team that hasn't looked great.
then fine. Yeah, honestly, I'd have no issue with starting him in a few of those games. I just don't get why you felt so inclined to be like, we can still do it, guys. Let's make a quarterback switch so we don't start the season 1-5. Like, you're already 1-4. You win this game, you are 2-4. The best possible solution here is that you lose and Drake May looks good. Like, that's the best possible outcome. And I don't necessarily know if there's a high chance of that. So, yeah, I take Texans by whatever the fuck they want. I think it'll be pretty brutal, honestly. I just don't have a lot of faith in a quarterback playing their first game against the Texans. That's a brutal, brutal way to start it for him. You're getting thrown right into the deep end right off the jump. It's not going to be a good game for May. And if it is a good game for him, God, I will be singing his praises next week because, like,
it'll be impressive if he's making it work.
Yeah, he'll have to play his ass off if they're going to win this game. So I think Yeah, I don't think it's a hard one. Texans, like I said, whatever they want, it'll probably be bad. Yeah, we can move on.
We can move on. If Drake May is able to make it work, that'll be very impressive. But speaking of someone who's already kind of been able to make it work, has been Bo Nix. Like a rough start to the season. Not a great game in Seattle, threw a couple interceptions, not necessarily the best performance. Kind of gets obliterated by a bad Steelers team. But they found their footing. Like, they've looked pretty good through the last few weeks. And Bo Nix is doing enough to the point where he's keeping his team in games. Obviously, still lots of issues. The whole, he threw for -7 yards in the first half against the Jets, but he still managed to, in shitty weather, lead the team down for a score.
That's honestly impressive.
Yeah. You win the game. You win the game in that one. You score a touchdown, which the Jets with Aaron Rodgers weren't able to do all day. And you blew out the Bucs, who have been a very good team otherwise. Take care of business against the Raiders. This is an impressive team with a very good defense, led by, in my mind, the current front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, and Pat Surtain. I look at this Chargers team, and I see a team that has already no receivers, and I see them going up against this Broncos team, especially one with, Pat Surtain back there. They're not going to be able to throw the ball at all. They're I don't even know who they consider their number one, maybe Ladd McConkey. He's getting locked up, so you're going to have to work with already more of a depleted secondary than you already do. I don't know. In my opinion, this doesn't look great for the Chargers. They got off to their hot 2-0 start, but it's against the Raiders and Panthers. I'm not taking too much out of that. Other than that, they looked pretty unimpressive, scored 10 points in their last 2 games. Broncos, with how good of a defense they are, that's not going to change. I'm taking Broncos here.
Yeah. No, it's tough because part of me really wants to take the Chargers because a little bit of me is going oh, well, sure, they can't pass, but Dobbins has looked really good at points this year. They could rely on the run game and pull maybe something out of their ass in a game they probably shouldn't win. But, I don't know. Even in that spot, it seems like the Broncos, they're still good. They're still fairly good at stopping the run. So it's kind of just tough. It's a tough spot for the Chargers kind of across the board. It's not a good matchup at all for them. I think I honestly, it's not that I think that they're that bad either. I still think that they can win games. It's just, you put it perfectly. Pat Surtain has been the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. They're getting great defense, and Bo Nix has been good enough to win games for them. And that is a more complete team than the Chargers have right now. They might have the quarterback battle won, but yeah, I don't know. It's a bad matchup for the Chargers, that's for sure. When you're a team that already has no fucking wide receivers at all, and you're facing a team that has the best corner in the NFL right now, it's not exactly a good spot to be in because Surtain's just gonna shut down half the field and whatever else happens on the other side, I don't even know. Better pray on a good week for Dobbins. That's all you can kind of hope for.
Yeah, it's literally their only hope at a certain point. Speaking of team with a good defense, we'll move to I guess it's probably in Las Vegas, but going to watch the Steelers. The Raiders are a complete dumpster fire of a team. Your win against the Ravens can only get you so far, and beating a decrepit Browns team doesn't inspire much faith either. Christian Wilkins is going to IR with a foot injury, so already half of that punch is gone. I don't know what Max Crosby's status is at this point, but he was also dealing with some injuries at a certain point. I think he's back. Yeah, he is back. But that line is already kind of depleted. If he's battling something and Wilkins is out, the strength of that team is gone. Antonio Pierce was openly pondering benching Gardner Minshew after their last loss.
Yeah,
it's not looking good in Las Vegas, and the Steelers, even though they're coming off 2 straight losses, their defense is still good. They're not going to win the Super Bowl, the Steelers team. but they have a good defense, and Justin Fields has been able to run that offense. He's been able to be like a kind of game manager quarterback where he's not going to put the ball in harm's way. He's playing some of the best football of his career by doing that. I think he's only going to get more comfortable in that offense. And I think this is probably the easiest matchup of the year for them. Steelers are going to roll in this one.
Crap, Caleb, you got to stop making the same picks as me. Because this one's super fun. I mean, to me, like on paper, like when I look at these two teams, no, it shouldn't be that like far away of a game. Like they should be fairly even. Is kind of what I mean. God, this Raiders team sucks, man. Like the second you look at like any stat, like Gardner Minshew, 4 for 5 on the year, or 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, absolutely atrocious. Pro Bowler right there. Rush on the rushing side, Zamir White. It's Zamir, right? I have that right? I believe it's Zamir White.
Yeah.
3.1 average on the ground, 40 yards per game, doesn't have a tutty on the year, 2 fumbles. Like, not a good start from their starting running back. Madison, meh, okay. Like, I don't see how they're scoring, is just the immediate thought that comes into my head when I look at this team. And then you're facing off against a Steelers team that at times behind Justin Fields has looked good enough to score. And, yeah, and the Raiders defense has been terrible too. 26 points per game. Like, that's brutal. Like, it's a game that like I said, on paper, like when I looked at this matchup, I was like, yeah, it's kind of a toss-up, honestly. They're both just not great. I didn't realize exactly how not great the Raiders have been this year. It's almost like somebody called that. It's almost like somebody earlier this year said something about that. It wouldn't be us though. Please don't hurt my family. Please don't. Please don't hurt my family.
At what point, Simon? At what point am I allowed to go back to that Raiders video and just comment the Raiders record when they're like 1-7? I'm just gonna go under all the comments and just say 1-7, 1-7, 1-7, whatever it is. I guess they've already won 2 games. 2-7, 2-7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's once Devontae Adams gets traded. That's when I can come after. It still just blows my mind that there were that many Raiders fans that are like, oh, you're so stupid. Like, how could you not believe that Gardner Minshew
was a Pro Bowler last year, Caleb? Can you believe that? The dude's a Pro Bowl level quarterback. Aiden O'Connell's the next.
A Pro Bowl quarterback to this team. There's nothing we can't do. Super Bowl, here we come.
We don't even need to draft a quarterback. Why would the Raiders need to draft a quarterback? We've got our quarterback in the future. Gardner fucking Minshew, baby.
Exactly. Aiden O'Connell was actually the second best rookie quarterback last year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know, maybe if he had gotten more opportunity, he would have challenged C.J. Stroud. Come on, people, wake up. This is gonna be a real wake up call for them.
Wake
again.
Up,
like, that's even looking at things don't get much easier.
No,
Steelers this week. The Rams depleted, yes, but getting healthier. Then Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins. If Tua's back, then maybe they're Broncos. They already lost to. Then Chiefs, Bucks, Falcons. This is not going to go well.
No, that's a whole fun time for the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the fact that me and you can both agree that they shouldn't beat this Steelers team should tell you what way we're both probably going to be leaning for most of those games for the rest of the year. Because I mean,
I'm probably...
If they don't beat this Steelers team, and like I said, Steelers, it's not like they're insane. They're like, I don't know, they're very middle of the road, at least in my opinion. If you're not beating the Steelers, you're not beating the Chiefs, you're not beating Atlanta, you're not beating the Rams. I they could go on a pretty hilarious run here to certainly make a certain comment section look very silly in the future.
Yeah, I think the only game out of those ones that I'm like leaning Raiders is the Dolphins one, and that is if by some miracle Tua's back, then that flips too. Who knows? Speaking of a team that neither of us, we don't have to spend very much time on this next one. Speaking of a team that neither of us are going to pick ever, Falcons. I'm not even going to give any analysis for it. Falcons.
Oh, that's my face.
We don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah, Falcons.
Like yeah.
God, you know what's funny
we'll leave
this
it
week?
at that.
You know what's funny this week? It's like every single game is some sort of. It just shouldn't be close. Like there's just one immediate. There's not any close games this week, is what it feels like. That's what I'm immediately.
Yeah,
noticing.
I like I like Commanders Ravens. I like
Yeah.
Cardinals Packers.
Yeah.
In a bizarre
two.
world, maybe Bucs Saints is close. Yeah, but there's certainly a few stinkers in there.
That is two. Right? Like
Yeah.
that's insane. Hopefully, like hopefully we get some
for the
diversity.
Canadians.
Hopefully we get a bit of diversity in our picks towards the end here. But like it's
Yeah.
funny. Like I feel like I should go another direction to at least make this week fucking interesting, but I'm not picking the Panthers over my dead corpse. Like that's not gonna go well. Like they're just not good. Andy Dalton might be an absolute legend, but he's not gonna be able to will them past El Kirko or whatever the fuck his nickname is. Like he's an absolute legend down there in his own right. Kirk Cousins is great. I think and this Atlanta team is just better. They're 1,000 times better than this Carolina team will ever be in the history of all time. They're just so bad.
I think at a certain point, maybe this is the NFL sending a big a big sorry card to Canada for not lining up their Thanksgiving with ours and making me have to watch football games in class all day on American Thanksgiving. So they're giving us they're returning us some time. They're saying, you know what, you go enjoy your Thanksgiving. You got this week off from football. Like there's nothing going on this week. Eat some turkey, you know.
Yeah.
We'll give you this.
Yeah,
you're not watching
Panthers. You're saying you don't like that. Or in high school, I absolutely loved sitting down and like watching whatever garbage. Like it was always a terrible game too on Thanksgiving for some reason. Like it was like Cowboys and Giants, and it'd be like 16 to 14 score, like just absolute dumpster fire of a game. But it'd be more entertaining than whatever like thing you're learning in math. Like that was sick.
That's true. I'm always mad I just can't like fully like sit down on a couch and become a couch potato for a full day.
Fair.
But no, it is nice. And it was just so strange. It's like the only time it ever happens. Although I do have a class from like 5 to 8 p.m. on Thursdays now, which sucks. So the Thursday night games have gotten harder to watch, but still.
It's an insane
It's
class.
awful.
Is that a mandatory class?
It is.
Okay, well.
They don't take attendance, though, so people have kind of stopped showing up, and I am slowly starting to become one of them, especially this week. I ain't going to that class this week.
Oh, yeah.
No way in hell.
Yeah. Anyway, Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys. In a more interesting game.
Yeah.
More interesting.
This will be a good one.
This
is the rematch of the whole, like, what's his name? Dan Skipper's. Is he eligible? Is he not? That whole debacle that made the Lions lose their last matchup against the Cowboys.
What?
I don't necessarily.
Why do I not remember that? What are you talking about?
It was the whole thing where I believe it was on a 2-point conversion that would have given the Lions the lead. The Lions get the 2-point conversion to take the lead. It would have won them the game, but then they get called for a penalty for an ineligible receiver because the guy who caught the conversion was Dan Skipper, an offensive lineman, and they said he didn't report as eligible. Yeah. But you watch back the replay, there's video of him talking to the ref. So like you would assume that's what he's doing, is reporting as eligible, and the ref just fucked it up. But who knows? It worked out okay for the Lions in the end. They still had an amazing season. And they're having, if you're looking at it in terms of like trajectory of these teams, one is very much obviously on the upswing. One of them is very much obviously on the downswing. The last game that we saw the Lions play, I can speak to it firsthand. That offense looked insane. They took a Seahawks defense that, now after their performance against the Giants, just is maybe worse than expected. But they took a Seahawks defense that had been stellar through the first 3 weeks and just made them look like an absolute joke with Jared Goff going 18 for 18. And it was just like, as a Seahawks fan, it was just so frustrating because every single time the Lions got the ball, you knew they were going to score. And even though Geno was playing like a god, it didn't matter because this offense could do whatever it wanted. And for a Cowboys defense that has given up 44 to the Saints at this point in the year, and a Cowboys team that has looked pretty sketchy at points, getting blown out by the Saints. They've squeaked by in a couple of the games they won. Giants and Steelers just squeaking by. I don't know. Against a team like the Lions, even though it is in Dallas, I'm definitely leaning Detroit in this one. Team on the rise versus a team very much on the decline, at least in my mind.
Yep, and I usually have a hard time picking against the Lions just in general. I think that they're consistently one of the better teams at this point. And I don't think that necessarily changes this week. I think if they can beat the Seahawks, they can beat the Cowboys. There's not a lot about this Cowboys team that makes me feel like they can necessarily put up that crazy of a fight against them. They in their last two games that I'm seeing here, they came out with... So they won back-to-back games against the Giants and Steelers, neither of which is that impressive. Two low-scoring, sort of close games. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Lions are quite a bit further ahead than the Cowboys are at this point. And I don't know. We even saw I was seeing highlights of it. Dak and CeeDee Lamb just yapping at each other. I think I don't know. There's got to be something going on over there in Dallas. It seems like there always is, but I don't know. I've never liked the Dallas Cowboys. I've never pretended to like the Dallas Cowboys. I'll take Detroit.
Well, we can move on to this is a weird Sunday night game. I mean, I get to be fair, the Giants have been better than expected, and I know that firsthand. I witnessed it firsthand. So I'm definitely not one to sleep on them at this point, because they've been okay. 2-3, not ideal, but pretty rough schedule. Close losses to the Commanders and Cowboys. Both, I mean, we just kind of shit in the Cowboys, but both of those still are good, playoff caliber teams. And then obviously face the Vikings, and we know how amazing they've been. The win against the Seahawks, the Giants look fantastic. And I'm personally hoping it's more of a symptom of the Giants being good than the Seahawks being ass for my own personal well-being and mental health. But they did look great. Daniel Jones, I was up in Lumen Field. We got seats up in the 300 level because we're not going to be able to afford right on the field. So we're high up, and I can't read the numbers or names in the jerseys very well. You could have convinced me it was another quarterback out there, a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, because he looked amazing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He looked great. It was a very complete effort from the Giants, despite missing both Devin Singletary and Malik Neighbors. That team looked legit. However, as the number one leader of the Bengals fan club,
I saw it coming.
There you go. Cincinnati I have picked the Bengals in I believe every single game this season.
They've been your
I have picked the Bengals to go to this. Yeah, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl in 2 straight years, and they are already letting me down 5 games in. But until they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs,
Does he ever
continue
learn?
to pick the Bengals, even when I think this Giants team is better than expected, even if I think it'll be a better game than people expect it to be. The Bengals, even though their record doesn't show it, have been playing good football. Is that defense kind of atrocious at this point? Yes. Not looking great on that point. But can the Bengals out-boat race anybody on offense, especially this Giants team? Absolutely they can.
Their one win on the season, they let up 24 points to the fucking Carolina Panthers.
I have full faith in Joe Burrow in this team. All of their losses have been close, every single one of them. Again, their defense needs work. I think my Super Bowl prediction for them is going to be hampered by that. But they have a relatively easy schedule the rest of the way. They're going to take this game, and they're still getting into goddamn playoffs. Book it.
A 1-4 team just went. Yeah, their Super Bowl odds may have been hampered. A little bit more than that. The Bengals, the fact that we have to sit here and have a conversation about whether the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to beat the New York Giants, and the fact that I'm actually picking the Giants should tell you all you need to know about the Cincinnati Bengals playoff odds at this point, at least in my opinion. But whatever. Yeah, I absolutely have the Giants.
Let's look at this. Bengals' path to getting into the playoffs. Win against the Giants. That gets you to 2 wins. Browns, that's 3.
Yeah,
Raiders, easily, that's 4. Chargers, that's 5. Titans, that's 6. Another Browns game, that's
Titans,
7. I think they can beat the Broncos. I think they beat the Steelers at least once. And then at that point, you've just got to steal one. Did I mention the Chargers? I might not have mentioned the Chargers. That's another one. And then you just gotta maybe you steal one against the Eagles or the Cowboys, and you're in. You're good.
Not a chance.
You're good.
Not a damn
Super Bowl.
chance.
The Super Bowl pick is still alive.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night. But
believe, Bengals fans, I'm with you.
Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. Would this be our Monday night? This is our Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. It's an interesting one. It would have been more interesting had the Jets not kind of sucked this year. Obviously Saleh just got fired for very mysterious mob reasons. It almost seems like it's been really interesting following that this week. I wonder if more is going to come out before the episode comes out. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy that we're not talking about the fact that somebody It's been insane. It's been insane so far, hearing all this stuff slowly trickle down about his entire firing. But obviously they're gonna have. I don't know if they announced who's gonna be filling in to interim coach the New York.
The defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think it'd be Hackett, considering Saleh literally demoted him 5 minutes before he was fired. But so that should tell you more than enough about whether he'd be deserving of doing it. But yeah, defensive coordinator. I mean, that's fair. 17 points per game allowed for the Jets so far this year. Clearly, their defensive coordinator has not been very bad. On the other side of the ball, they've not been great. A-Rod struggling so far this year. I believe they've scored, I think, exactly the same amount of points through 5 weeks as they did last season under Zach Wilson, which is hilarious. So yeah, it's been a very wacky season so far for the New York Jets, and they're going against a very, very hot Buffalo Bills team that obviously coming into New York, I think you usually pick first. If you want to take this from me, you can go. You can take it.
I'll let you pick first on this. Oh,
you're gonna let me? Okay. Well, I think I kind of already.
Yeah.
I showed my hand a little bit already. I am gonna take the Bills.
Yeah.
I don't think that an upset is going to come here. I still think the Bills are a very good team. I think we've kind of learned that. You can't really underestimate them at this point. They might not have a true number one wide receiver, but they have a bunch of guys who can they're kind of doing what the Chiefs did last year, wide receiver by committee. And so far it's worked for them fairly well. Defense is fairly solid. They're just kind of solid across everywhere. And Josh Allen is good. Holy crap. I need to relearn how to speak English. Josh Allen is good enough to pull out a game with a decent team. Against a team with the Jets that just hasn't been that great, they're probably going to need an easier opponent than Josh Allen and the Bills to turn everything around.
So, I am going to take this in a bit of a different direction. There is, I don't know, I don't have a stat to back this up, I don't have anything other than just like a memory and vibes in terms of when you fire a coach. Generally, the first game after
Oh.
you get a little bit of a bump. You get the
You think
Bisaccia
the
bump, like the
players?
Rich
You think the?
Bisaccia bump.
But my argument immediately against that is: do you really think the players in that Jets organization didn't like Saleh that much? Because that's the difference in those type of games. When you fire a coach that just seems unlikable, like he seems like a guy that nobody in the like he lost the locker room, nobody likes him, then yes, absolutely. It didn't seem like that with Saleh. Like everybody was surprised he was fired. Like for the last few years, he coached a few very bad Jets teams, and it never seemed like it was really his fault. Like, I mean, I guess this season there's a lot less excuses for him. Like you'd think that this is all the pieces he needs. So yeah, if you want to fire him, I guess. Like it seems pretty early to me, but I guess you could make the argument. I don't know. It seemed like he seemed likable. Like you really think that this will be the bump?
I don't think that it's necessarily like about likability necessarily, because yes, there's a lot of these coaches. Like I have a list now. A lot of these coaches where I'm like, okay, yeah, I can understand, like Josh McDaniels last year,
Yeah.
or like a John Gruden or an Urban Meyer. Yes, where it's like the locker room
Nobody
vibe's
liked
not
him.
good. That's probably why they went out and won the opener the next game. You're right in that I don't think this was the case with Salah. I think a lot of the players liked him. But that's not always the case. That's not always the case. 2018 Green Bay Packers fired Mike McCarthy, which I think we can agree probably pretty well liked in that locker room considering how long he was there. Joe Philbin comes in next game and wins. You go look at Dan Quinn, 2020 Falcons. Dan Quinn, well-respected, well-liked coach. Fired, they win their next game. You go Frank Reich, 2022 Colts. Fire him, win their next game with Jeff Saturday as the coach, which was
right.
no coaching experience whatsoever. They go 0-7 the rest of the way with Jeff Saturday, but they win that first game. Here's the full stat. Getting this from the NFL Reddit, which is where we get the best stats from.
Best stats.
Since 2018, there have been 13 coaches fired midseason. The first game after that firing, those teams are 8-5 in the first game, and then 29-55 in all other games with that interim head coach. That is a huge discrepancy. There's something real there, and it's that kind of intangible that makes me think that the Jets can pull this off. I also want to say I don't think this Bills team is as much of a juggernaut as people might think, because you look back at their schedule, and those wins that they have that were like super like, oh wow, like the Bills are for real, look a lot less impressive to me now, especially against Dolphins team that has been struggling, even though they had Tua in for a lot of that game. And then a Jags team, which we know has just been cratering and bottoming out. The Bills' offense has kind of like got the life sucked out of them. They've played a couple good teams, but you completely crapped the bet against the Ravens. That Texans game, I think, was made to look closer than it actually was for a large portion of that game. Yeah, I don't know. The Jets still have a lot of talent. They still took the 5-0 Vikings down to the wire, got in the red zone with a chance to take the lead. I don't know. I'm giving them that post-Salah firing bump as maybe not based in logic, maybe not based in reason, but it's proven to be a thing. And I'm going to have it on what's kind of a repeat of the game where Aaron Rodgers got injured, Monday Night Football again in New York, again against Buffalo, again. It'll be very interesting to see. And it sounds like Aaron Rodgers, he's talking about people not liking the head coach. May not be true for the rest of the team, but based on just vibes, it seemed like if there's anybody in that locker room that didn't like Salah, it might have been Rodgers. Maybe he plays out of his mind, and now that the coach is gone, and he and Hackett can have their day.
Yeah, never in my life did I think I'd hear you hyping up an Aaron Rodgers revenge game, but yeah, here we are. You never know.
I mean, I still think it's stupid that they likely fired Hackett just because Aaron Rodgers was throwing a temper tantrum. But I'm gonna pick the short-term results here. Don't think it's a good long-term decision, but I'll pick the short-term results.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. No, I won't necessarily argue with you for that. But there you go. We have picked every single game for Week 6. Let us know where we're wrong. Raiders fans, make sure to yell and scream at us about how your team's so much better than they actually are, because we don't want to hear it. But it's really funny. So make sure to keep doing that. Same with everybody else. Let us know where we went wrong. Or maybe you agree with what we said. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Anyway, next up segment. What are we talking about? NHL. Which division are we doing? I don't even know.
One of the Eastern Conference divisions at this point.
Yeah.
One of them.
One of the two. Flip a coin and just pretend that you guessed right.
Half of the time you'll be right.
Half the time you'll be right. Yeah. Half of the time, every time you'll be right on what the segment is next coming up.